So this article is going after second home owners and especially those involved in Airbnb, as opposed to addressing another wee problem. How about uncontrolled immigration? We've got, well, I mean, let's face it, people go, there's not too many people. Look, if they're having to book entire hotels under Serco and various others, BlackRock, blah, 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 then we've got too many people in any country that we have to take over hotels that were normally set for, well, people on holiday or travellers. Yeah. We've got too many people. But no. It's those involved in Airbnbs. And look, there's no argument. This Airbnb thing that came out of nowhere, essentially, really, when you think about it, has not helped things. There's no argument there. Yeah. But, as I've always said over the years, you look at the interest rates that people would get in a savings account up until, say, about the mid-80s, maybe a wee bit more, but it was roughly about, it kept more than ahead of inflation. You're looking at roughly about sort of 9% or sometimes more up until a point. And then, of course, these contrived crashes, etc., and, various puppet politicians say, we need to do this, and the Bank of England needs to do that, and blah, blah, blah. And remember, the Bank of England is certainly not a public institution. It's a private, institution that was originally set up by, well, rumoured to be something like 13 bloodline families. But anyway, we're off at tangents. Of course we are. But over a very long period of time, it has been about the contraction of the money supply or wealth supply from the many to the few. And so it was encouraged at one point to, hey, you're getting a shitty return in the bank. Here, have you thought of this thing called Airbnb? It came out of nowhere, remember? And people were saying, well, this will be cheaper than hotels. And in many instances, it was. Yeah. And it has been. Yeah. But people, I've had maybe one or two experiences through friends of going to an Airbnb. In one instance, it was somebody's home. And, to get extra money in, they quite literally put it in for an Airbnb. I'm literally not realising I'm walking around somebody's home that, to help pay the mortgage or, get some more money in, that they're renting out their home. Yeah? To me, it should have always been a telltale sign that here we are. But it also ties into the rollout of Agenda 21. Because you know what the outcome of this will be, though at some point, and not so far away, it will be so constrictive to have an Airbnb, and then it will be about social housing, and, who gets priority on that? Remember, this is still based around the systematic destruction of countries in the West, in no small way. I mean, how can you argue, look at these greedy bastards and their Airbnbs, and look what the net effect that has had on hotels. Before Airbnbs, people used to embrace going to hotels. They'd go back to hotels because of the locals, the staff, the atmosphere, the many different factors that made people go to these places and embrace the whole experience, the interaction with other guests, a hotel bar. Oh, where are you from? I'm from blah, blah, blah. Oh, it's nice meeting you. Look, we'll need to keep in touch. This was also about, well, dehumanization as well, because a lot more people, let's face it, how many people have got their heads in their phones rather than interact with people? Yeah? Keep your head down, keep your head in your phone, walk past, blah, blah, blah. All that and so much more. Look at most pubs now. It's not anywhere near the level of interaction there used to be. And it's all about heads in their phones and, if you can get a couple of words out of them, other than, excuse me, or, oh, thanks, or, yeah. It's a complex subject. It truly is. And there's no arguments. There is literally nothing to rent, apparently, according to Rightmove, which I would rate, to rent in Oban. And in this article, it's about, well, we can't even get dentists up here. Although I read somewhere further down that somebody travels at 170 miles from their hometown of Dumfries to Oban to visit a holistic dentist who has become well known in the area and has a brilliant reputation. and it was about mercury fillings taken out. Fair play to the individual. And if there is a dentist out there that's not filling your teeth full of, well, things that are not exactly great for the brain, look up a vid called Poison in the Mouth, back in the days when the BBC's Panorama was well worth respecting. Mind you, you have to go back to the 90s. But yeah, the solution and the wording of stakeholders and blah, 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 and, you know, councils need to do more. It still never ends well. This is not about looking after the people, communities, local population. No, none of that. But most people won't see it, and there'll be a lot of Masonic puppetry and other occultists. Yeah, this is still part of this controlled collapse of Western civilization. No two doubts about it. When they were saying in this article, a quiet nightly, a quaint, and you know, it's hardly got any nightly. What's happened to Oban? Seriously, people used to come from far and wide to head to Oban because of the crack, the banter, the folk bands, you name it. I mean, at one stage it was a hell of a place to live, surrounded by some stunning scenery. I would still say that there's many places within or around Argyll outside of Oban that's even more spectacular scenery-wise by a country mile than there. But, yeah, Oban. Seriously? Honestly, when I saw in the 2010s that at one stage the Oban Inn, which sold the highest beer keggage for S&N in the 80s, and only beaten, at one stage in the 80s, and only beaten by an Edinburgh disco with 5 bars. Yeah, at one stage, Oban. I mean, it was wall-to-wall pubs, the atmosphere, the crack, the fishermen. You know, there was a lot of wealth kicking about that area. Be assured of that. And for all the right reasons. Seriously. This still ties in Agenda 21. Be assured of this. And I'll speak to you soon.